Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Thank you so much for joining us in our last episode of the Qazwini podcast. That's right. This is the last episode of the series, episode number 15. I know I've enjoyed participating in it. My elder brother has enjoyed it. We want to thank all of our viewers, everyone who's been supporting us, everyone who's been giving us positive feedback, and inshallah, today we have a good topic in store for everyone. We're going to be talking about fashion today. Obviously, fashion surrounds us in a way that we can't get rid of, You can't deny that fashion goes on because we use clothes to cover ourselves first and foremost. So, we have to know something about fashion. It's a very important topic and we're here to discuss it with you guys today.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين وأما بعد السلام عليكم brothers and sisters, friends, viewers ورحمة الله وبركاته. Indeed, I think it's an important topic, especially as we're getting close to the day of Eid.
Right.
Though, there will not be, from my understanding, there won't be any official Eid prayers in mosques, but I'm sure people are either shopping around for new clothes or jewelry or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. But when we initially picked the topic, we thought that there will be Eid prayers and there will be people shopping around. Regardless, Eid is a time where people will end up, inshallah, in the next years, dressing up and looking to be fashionable when they appear in the masjid. And like you said, fashion surrounds us all the time, especially with social media, with TV. Even when you go out shopping, it surrounds you all the time.
Right.
And there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of concerns regarding this topic. We got almost about 20 questions DM'd to us, many questions. I think awesome. The reason why we got so many questions in the DM was because I think people are scared to be judged or, they might feel awkward asking those questions publicly. Right. And we also had a good amount of questions in the public audience, which tells you this is a very important topic. Is it okay to spend money on brands? Is it halal? Is it haram? What is a fashionable hijab? There are a lot of topics surrounding surrounding this subject, and I don't know how much we're going to be able to cover today, but I assume we definitely would need to have a follow-up on the topic.
Part 2.
Inshallah.
So we're going to go over a few things today. First, we're going to talk about should we care about how we dress and how what we dress says about us. Then we're going to talk about name brands. Are they important? What's the difference between a name brand and an off-brand? Then we're going to talk about perfumes and colognes. We'll talk about hygiene, shoes and sneakers. And then we're going to transition, talk a little bit about if it's humble to dress down. Is it humble to not be fashionable? And then lastly, we're going to talk about the imams, the prophet, how they, dressed or carried themselves when it came to their fashion. So first and foremost, should we care about fashion? Should we care about how we dress? And what does how you dress say about you?
Absolutely. I believe that how you dress says a lot about you and your personality and who you are. And that's a known fact. Today, the way you dress out in public determines, a lot of things about you.
Right.
And people choose, a lifestyle. And within their lifestyle, there's also, a specific fashion or a specific clothing line or a specific way for them to dress. That says a lot about them. Now, obviously, we have to dress differently to different places, right?
Definitely.
Let's say tomorrow you have a job interview, and you have graduated from the best university, and you're really good at what you do.
Right.
But you end up just walking out of the house with your pajamas, you don't comb your hair, you don't take care of yourself, you just show up to the job because you think that I'm qualified.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really good at this. And then someone else comes there as well to the job interview who's less qualified, who probably hasn't graduated from the same school that you have.
Right.
But he's neat and he's taking care of himself, he's well groomed, he's well spoken. The second person is way more likely to get the job.
Definitely.
Because people don't just want smart people, They want people who also have emotional intelligence. And when we spoke of emotional intelligence, this is part of your emotional intelligence telling you how to dress where and how to act and how to behave and how to speak in different settings. So, how we dress determines our success as well.
Right.
Usually people like to engage with those who are well dressed, well groomed, well taken care of, who smell good, who look like they have taken care of themselves.
Right.
And that is also associated with success.
Definitely.
A good salesman, for example, part of being a good salesman is knowing how to dress.
Mm-hmm.
And being fashionable. Now, I also believe that it's all the exterior, not just how we look and how we dress, but it's a lot more than that, and I will explain that to you. What I mean is the way we dress, the way we look, and the way we dress goes a long way. But then there are some people who dress well and they look good, but as soon as they speak, you don't want to associate yourself with them at all.
Right.
Because they are so uneducated, they are not well spoken, they're not well behaved, and it just turns you off about that person completely.
Right.
So it's taking care of our exterior is a huge thing, and it's a package. It's about having knowledge. It's about being well spoken. It's about behaving well. Even the way we walk, the way we sit, the way we speak, the way we interact with others, along with the way that we dress and with the way we're groomed and the way we carry ourselves, says a lot about our exterior and who we are within.
Right.
And the religion of Islam definitely emphasizes on that a lot. I know that you said we're going to be talking about the imams and the Prophet all the way in the end, and we will.
Yeah.
But right here, I would want to emphasize that the Holy Quran, for example, on many occasions asks and invites the believers to dress for the occasion.
Right.
Whether it's you going to the mosque or whatever it may be, to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to be appropriately dressed.
Right.
That is why we can't stand up for salah, for example, even if there's nobody around, naked. That's not allowed.
Right.
We have to cover ourselves. We have to dress appropriately for the occasion, even if there's nobody seeing us. A lot of people ask, they say, what if I go in my room, I lock the door, and I'm not dressed properly? Can I perform my salah? And that is not allowed, because you're standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, would you go and stand in front of the president with your boxers?
Right.
Now, obviously we have laws concerning those who may not have clean clothes. I'm not speaking about that. I'm speaking about the proper attire if everything is fine.
Right.
Then it is required of you to dress properly, to use atar, perfume, to even like we said when we spoke of the gemstones, to wear your nicest aqiq or rings, to comb your beard, to comb your hair. Those are almost up to brush your teeth, all before salah. Similarly, before you go to the masjid, and before you meet other mu'mineen. One day Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam was combing his beard, and he was putting atar, and he was spending some time taking care of himself, grooming himself. And one of his wives tells him, Ya Rasulullah, they're just a bunch of Bedouin men. Why do you need to take care of yourself so much? You're already married. And she says, this is how Allah wishes for us to meet each other.
Mhm.
You know, it doesn't matter if I'm going to meet around other men, or it doesn't matter if I'm already married. This is a misconception a lot of men and women have, that, you know, since this guy's married, why is he taking care of himself? Who is he beautifying himself for?
Right.
You know? So, I mean, as an introduction, I think we've said enough, but especially I'd like to add this, especially for Muslims living in the West. We are an immigrant community.
Mhm.
We are a community that's migrated to this country and to the West, and it hasn't been, you know, many years for us.
Right.
And we came from mostly we came from impoverished backgrounds,
Definitely.
weak backgrounds. You know, some people flew wars and bloodshed, and they left their countries without taking anything with them. Maybe back home they were well-established people,
Right.
but the way they fled their countries, they
Mhm.
couldn't take anything with them.
Right.
And for the most part, you know, if you come out of half of the Middle East, you can't even bring your money with you, right?
Mhm.
So we came to this country, and now, after 30, 40, 50 years, alhamdulillah, you find that, you know, there are a lot of successful Muslims, whether they are physicians or lawyers or attorneys or authors or businessmen, many successful people. And I think it's time now that we start dressing fashionably
Right.
and presenting ourselves in a way where people take us more seriously.
Mhm.
You know, we shouldn't dress in a way where people are saying, oh, you know, this community of Muslims are all immigrants, they're all impoverished, they're all lower class citizens, they're not successful. No, but the way we dress should also associate us with success.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to understand, psychologically so much goes on when you look at someone, and depends on how they're dressed. For example, like, why are police officers dressed the way they're dressed? Why did they choose that kind of uniform? Because the way it's created and curated in that way, it's to portray power or safety or someone you would trust, right? You look at a cop, you see how he's dressed, you would trust that individual. And same at, you know, there's so many ways to go about it, but fashion is very important, you know. Obviously, we identify ourselves based on what we're wearing, and I think people should care more about how they dress. So, on the topic of fashion, obviously name brands, people, when they think of fashion, they think of the runway, you know, Milan or New York Fashion Week, things of that nature. Are name brands important? And, you know, should we really care about name brands, or is it just all, you know, whatever? Just more money?
Yes and no, I would say.
Right.
So I'm just gonna throw out ideas.
Mm-hmm.
If you end up spending like $600 on a shirt, just a regular T-shirt,
Right.
that you're gonna wear when you go to sleep, that just has a LV sign.
Mm-hmm. Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. You know,
Yeah.
there is no reason for it.
Right.
However, I would say maybe for certain individuals,
Mm-hmm.
in certain places, like I said, to demonstrate their success, to demonstrate their power, it is needed. So we can't say, or desired.
Right.
So we can't say, you know, well, it's good for somebody and it's bad for someone else.
Right.
If, you know, you're looking at something that's going to make you look better and nicer and more presentable and seemingly more successful,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong with that, as long as it does not do several things. One, it's not israf.
Mm-hmm.
You're not overdoing it. You're not transgressing in the way that you spend. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. Second, it doesn't become addictive, where it's like a drug, where you feel that without, you know, this Louis Vuitton bag or this Louis Vuitton purse, or without, you know, my Prada shoes, then I am not the person that I would like to be.
Right.
for you to understand that those things don't define who you are.
Mm-hmm.
If you are constantly in need of those things to feel good about yourself, then you have to cure this issue in a different way.
Right.
If I constantly feel I need to flash, my watch or my jewelry or my tattoos or whatever it is that's fashionable, if I need to constantly flash those things, that tells me there's something wrong within.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, lack of attention, that is greed for attention, wanting to just be flashy all the time, not being content with who you are, not
Right.
being content with what you have, being greedy for the dunya. And that is not something that's desirable. If you buy those things and you have them and you enjoy them for yourself,
Right.
yes, maybe other people will look at them and they will enjoy them on you. And like I said, it would give you an image of success and your achievements. But even without them, even when you're not wearing that watch, even when you're not wearing that belt, even when you're not doing all those things, people still respect you.
Right.
People still desire you for who you are. So whether you're a successful attorney or a successful physician or a successful scholar, this is who you are. Anything beyond that is the decoration or the ornaments of the dunya. It comes in the dunya and it stays here, and it will not be able to, we will not be able to transport those things with us to the next life.
Right.
At the same time, like I said, we shouldn't get addicted to them.
Mm-hmm.
Addiction is something bad, because once you get it, I know many, for example, youth who are addicted to this lifestyle, whether men or women, and there will be times in their lives where they won't be able to have them.
Right.
Or, for example, this young woman, she is in her father's home and her father is able to buy her all those things, but her husband isn't. Or her husband doesn't want to. He doesn't believe in, lavish spending. He doesn't believe in the fact that you can spend $7,000 on a purse while you can do so much more good with that.
Right.
So yeah, buy a nice purse, a nice brand, but it doesn't have to be the most expensive purse.
Right.
So there you find those people having a conflict, they're almost getting a divorce just because of such silly things.
Yeah.
So when we do that, and when we buy those brands, and when we enjoy them, and we all do, and there's nothing wrong with that, if you're making enough money and you've worked hard and you're struggling and you're not a lazy person and Allah has blessed you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in many occasions, we have a hadith that Rasulullah and Imam Ali said, إِذَا أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ عَبْدٍ, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses a abd, blesses his creation, blesses his servants, He wants to see that ni'mah on them.
Right.
So if you were making $50,000 last year and this year you're making $100,000 and the same thing still, you're wearing the same thing, dressing the same thing, still shopping at, Walmart, still driving the same car, nothing has changed in your life, Allah wouldn't like that.
Yeah.
Allah wants you to show the ni'mas that He's blessed you with in your life, towards your children, towards your family, towards your loved ones.
Right.
But at the same time, we also have to think of, how those brands are manufactured and where they're manufactured, and, if it's okay for us to support them in the ways that we are supporting them.
Mm-hmm.
If we end up buying a little purse for $1,000, $2,000, or shoes for $2,000, we have to really look into the history of that particular shoe or that particular purse, and how is it made and how many people have suffered. Like the other day when we spoke of gemstones and we spoke of diamonds.
Right.
How can you enjoy a diamond when some kid has died because of that diamond?
Right.
When so many people have lost their lives because of
Yeah.
the diamond industry. So it is still something to think about,
Yeah.
that a lot of people suffer, they're not paid,
Adequate.
you would not believe it. Some of those people are paid as low as $8 a month.
Right.
Not a day, not an hour, $8 a month working for those companies.
That's that's why most companies obviously manufacture their clothes outside of the United States or Europe, because it's so much easier to find cheap labor, and sometimes it's even children,
Yeah,
child labor.
absolutely.
Sweatshops, you see like 600 people crammed in a small space. Well, anyways, when it comes to name brands, obviously at a certain point there's a difference in quality, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So like something you buy for $5, like a $10 suit will not compare to a suit made in Italy, handmade.
Definitely.
There's certain quality that you're, but at a certain point, the good qualities are almost indistinguishable, and then you're just going within crazy price ranges,
Yeah.
right? So, like you said, I think we should care about quality, right?
Yeah.
But maybe not always become like a walking billboard for these companies. You're walking around with a Gucci shirt, Fendi shorts,
As long as you're getting them, if you're getting them for free, then you may.
That's
but
cool.
If you're not, if you're paying top money for that,
if
then
you're getting it for free, you got to hook the Qazwini brothers up with some of that merchandise. But now let's talk a little bit about perfumes and colognes. I know the Prophet himself, peace be upon him, spent a good amount of his salary on cologne and perfume. So what is the importance of cologne and perfume? Do you enjoy using it? What are some of your favorites maybe, and things of that sort?
well, let's get something straightened out. The Prophet didn't have a salary. He said
Right.
he would spend
Maybe his
salary.
money.
Yeah, his
Not
money.
salary, but
So whatever he had from earnings,
right.
Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would spend it on different things. Amongst them, or maybe the most pricey of them, was the beautiful scent, or what is called atar, or perfume, or cologne.
Right.
We can refer to it in different ways. And he would say to his companions that there is no israf in that. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Hassan, and Imam Hussein as well. Imam Hussein specifically in the month of Ramadan, he would order, his servants to get him the best of scents and the most expensive of them. And he would spend the whole Ramadan smelling so beautifully until Eid.
Oh man.
And
I could smell the.
And they say that when the Prophet and the Imams, specifically Rasulullah and Imam Hussein, I have read this about them, and Imam Hassan, that when they would pass in a street for a long time, you would still be able to know that they passed through that street because of their smell, because of the scent. And obviously there are other people who were wealthier, much wealthier than them. But this is not said about them.
Right.
This is because Rasulullah and the Ahl al-Bayt wanted to set a trend for the Muslims to smell good, to look good,
Right.
to look attractive. Unfortunately, today you look at Muslims and you find that there's long uncombed beards.
Yeah.
Some of them, their hair is I know with the whole COVID issue, there's a lot of people
Cavemen.
not being able to go to the barber.
Right.
But this still does not give you that still shouldn't give you an excuse to look like a gorilla.
Yeah.
So that's something that we have to consider. As far as smelling good, this is something that is inseparable from a mu'min, I would say. Literally inseparable. If you're a mu'min and you are somebody who really wants to follow the Islamic way, then you have to smell good the whole time. I know a lot of people who might spend a lot of money on clothes.
Right.
I'm serious. Yeah. And they would look, they look very presentable, but when you get close to them, you can't tolerate them.
Yikes.
And that's because they have, they don't understand the importance of smelling good. Or you get into some people's car and it just smells horrible. You can't take it. Or I literally have experience where, you go into a home, let's say it's a dinner or lunch or whatever it may be, and you're invited there. And when you get in, you're so hungry before you get there. But when you get there, you lose your appetite completely. And the reason is because the house is so stuffy and smelly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's horrible.
Right.
You know, people, I don't understand how people don't feel this. Or for example, they'll have their closet, their little closet, right next to the kitchen. So you know they put their jackets there,
Yeah.
or whatever it may be. And you know, when you're cooking next door and you're frying all day, and you got your jacket or your overcoat right next door, that's gonna stink. That's gonna smell, you know, and you're gonna wear that every single day, and whatever you wear under it's gonna smell too.
Yeah.
And how do you not feel this? How do you not, how do you not recognize that, you know, this scent is stuck to you?
You don't want to smell like a walking plate of biryani or something. You know?
A lot of people do, unfortunately.
Right.
Even when you go to the masjid, you know, unfortunately people have had long days at work. This guy's been wearing his shoes all day. He hasn't had the chance to brush his teeth all day. And he's not using perfume. And I always say, you know, if you're coming to Jum'ah, put, you know, fresh socks in your car.
Right.
Make sure you have a good cologne in your car. Make sure you have deodorant in your car. And make sure that if you're, you know, sweating, then you have an extra shirt. Please.
Yeah. Please
Because
wear socks, first and foremost. There's a lot of people that just walking barefoot.
I don't know. So, you know, sometimes when you do sujood on some of the masjids,
Yeah, you look up
and you're like, and the imam is taking too long in that sujood, you're really just no longer saying, you know, Subhana Rabbi al-A'la wa bihamdah. You're saying, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
Right.
And Ashhadu anna Muhammad.
You
Because you're literally, and you know, we're joking about it now, but it's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go into a masjid and it smells like curry plus socks plus
this happens a lot during
sweat
Seattle.
plus all those things mixed each other. And I know a lot of people will start avoiding masjids, prayer halls, and places because they're sensitive to smell. I personally am very sensitive. Very sensitive. I mean, I can get sick.
Yeah.
So sometimes, you know, when a hall is stuffy, I keep saying, you know, maybe some people have seen that in my lectures. Please turn on the air, turn on a fan, open a window, because I just don't want to, you know, I don't want to get sick during the lecture. But I see that, you know, some people are okay with it. Some people are getting up and leaving. And, you know, those are really important things. So I would say that please take care of the way you smell. For men, it is allowed to wear perfume and wear cologne. For women, it is allowed unless it becomes seductive. So, you know, if the smell, the scent is like fresh, that's fine. If the scent is clean, smells clean, like a, you know, that's what they call them, clean, fresh, whatever, or soap or fruits, that's fine. But if it's a seductive scent, you know, usually, you know, reserved for like, I don't know, a romantic dinner or a romantic occasion or what have you, then women should avoid that for obvious reasons. But, you know, like I said, you know, smelling good is something that should be part of, you know, part of your shopping list every year. Part of your income literally should be spent on colognes. And, you know, a lot of people end up going and buying something from like Walmart or Target or Cool Water.
Then I'd rather you not even wear, or like, you know, those little roller ones? You know, where the guy opens it and it looks like a chapstick, and he's like, please.
So basically,
and those never go away. You know, you try to wash them off. And they're there for like 5-6 days.
And so just, you know, I remember, you know, growing up, I knew some guy who used to be obsessed with Cool Water. And he just never he never grew out of it. And until now, I'm like, you know, this is okay when you're 12 years old or 13 or 15 years old, but it's not okay if you're. And at this stage, he's making well over $300,000-$400,000 a year, and you know, still Cool Water.
We need to send him some stuff, maybe.
I'm not sending him nothing. It's the other way around. You should be sending me stuff. But you know, I think that people think that it's okay, as long as you just don't smell dirty or nasty or whatever.
Right.
But no, it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that. There are some amazing colognes and perfumes out there. Live your life, enjoy your life,
Right.
and let other people enjoy it with you.
Yeah. So, talking about that, some of what you said, like the sock stuff and the beard stuff, I know I've experienced this a lot during Ziyara.
Mm-hmm.
And you just basically covered that the imams were, they smelled so good, and when we go to their shrines, we should smell good too.
Absolutely.
As we're portraying their way of life. So sometimes I've been to Ziyara and it gets really crowded, and there's no problem in that, but the sense you experience sometimes, and some people don't have much, they may be impoverished and stuff, but maybe we could think of ways to help with hygiene. Maybe before we enter into the shrine or something, there should be a dress code or a hygiene code. How important is hygiene in our faith?
So if about what you said, before I forget, I want to say, I swear, wallahi, if I had the money, one thing I would certainly do, and if I had the authority there,
Right.
I would make sure that in Arba'in, in this walk,
Right.
instead of giving people 6 meals to eat,
Right.
I would convert some of those mawakib to showers.
Right, free showers.
Free showers. Let people get in there. You give them a little
Sprayer.
you give them a little bag,
Right.
a bathroom bag or whatever.
Toiletries,
Yeah, and then there would be a soap. There would be razors. There would be toothbrush. There would be a little deodorant, a little cologne. That
I love it.
and give that to them with a disposable towel, let's say.
Right.
Let them clean up, let them take a shower, let them feel good. Those people are walking for 3 days, they need that shower.
Definitely.
And it's gonna
We
make
need
them
that shower.
Yeah, and it's gonna make them feel better, it's gonna make them it's gonna go a long way, trust me. And everybody is this is how we are, we copy each other, we're not innovative. If somebody, does something, the next thing everybody wants to do it.
Right.
And that's one horrible thing about us, Middle Eastern people. We are just not innovative. And, if somebody's giving to man qima, then everybody's going to have to give to man qima.
Right.
And then there is another mokib that, is like, let's say from Pakistan. And if they're giving sambusa, all the other guys are giving sambusa.
Right.
So why not, each country, you see all those flags. Why not
Definitely.
each country comes and buys this land or rents this land or whatever it is, and puts showers there, and let's let people use that. Let people shower there, take care of their hygiene, and then before entering the shrine of Imam al-Hussein, before entering Karbala.
Right.
I think this is the task of the shrine. I mean, the shrine is making enough money.
Definitely.
Give a complete bag, to people. As soon as they're getting into the city of Karbala, give them an entire bag that has, 2 pairs of socks, undergarments, different sizes,
Yeah.
and just distribute that to people. You got 20 million people coming, that's fine. 20 million.
Yeah.
If we're spending 250 million on food, we
Right.
can afford to spend.
There's definitely people that need it more than others, right?
Yeah,
So,
and then make a if you don't need if you're in need of funding, then just say we need funding to fund the Zawar of Imam al-Hussein. I personally would want to be part of that type of funding,
Right.
and then let there be a little body spray for men and women. That way we will solve this problem of hygiene in masjids. Same thing, brothers. When you go to your mosque, make sure that there such bags exist. Maybe some people will end up having long commutes. Maybe some people are coming out, from a long day. They don't have such things in their mosque. Make sure, you have, You buy 100 pairs of nice socks every year,
Yeah.
and you leave them in the masjid. And I say this to a lot of people. Make sure your socks are white.
Right.
Buy white socks. Don't go around buying different colors. Why? Because you know when to throw them away.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a little bit of when they're changing color, or there's spots on them or whatever it may be, that's a time where this sock needs to go to the trash.
Right.
You need to buy another one, and that's fine. We're spending on so many different things. We can afford on spending our undergarments. So anyhow, buy 100 pairs of socks and leave it in the masjid. People will come, they need it. Give it to them. Buy some perfumes, buy some colognes, buy some deodorants, buy some toothbrushes.
Yeah.
Leave those. They'll create this culture in the masjid. And the houses of worship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasizes on this. Rasulullah emphasizes on this. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu khudu zinatakum 'inda kulli masjid. Make sure you beautify yourself when you go to the masjid. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he would say, clean the path of the Quran. So people would say, what is the path of the Quran? He says, when you recite the Quran. Make sure you're using miswak, and you're cleaning your mouth.
Yeah.
And back then it was difficult, but today it's so easy.
Yeah, toothbrush. You don't want to use a miswak all the time now. If you're using it here and there, but don't substitute the miswak for a toothbrush.
Yeah.
That's a huge no-no. Our next topic is shoes and sneakers. So, as you know, I kind of like collecting shoes here and there. I have a few different pairs. When it comes to shoes and sneakers, there's a huge culture of there's people that are sneakerheads. So I've seen people that have like $15,000 pair of Jordans because it may have been one or two made in the world, or I've seen people that collect Jordans that were made in Japan. Back when Jordan was wearing Jordans, they weren't made. They were mostly made in Japan, so the Japanese Jordans are really rare, and there's certain different types of shoes that can exceed well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So when do we draw the line between israf, like where it's just you're going overboard, and where you buy 1, 2, 3 pairs of shoes, they look nice, if you like to collect them, where do we draw the line, and where does it stop, basically?
Well, I can't really throw out a number and say 5 is enough, 10 is enough.
Right.
But look, with buying new clothes, one thing that I think is really good for people to do is, if you're changing your wardrobe once a year, that's good. That's good,
Right.
But if you're changing it once a month, that's bad. And if you're changing it once every 5 years, that's also bad. So we have to be moderate. I think changing it once a year is fair. It's good because, people that see us, people that interact with us, wearing the same thing over and over again, especially at home, to your family, to your friends, at work, doesn't give a good impression about you to anybody.
Right.
And if Allah has blessed you, and if Allah has given you the ability to do so buy new stuff. Now this, like with me, my clothes never, like, if I give them away after a year, they're brand new. Literally, they're brand new. But I give them away because it makes me feel good.
Right.
If they're actually ripped or there's something wrong with them, I throw them away. I don't give them to anybody because I don't think anybody is... I don't want to degrade anybody with that type of... So, for people living in America or Europe, going to the Middle East, let's say you're from Afghanistan or Pakistan or India or Iran or whatever, there's a lot of people who would die to wear those clothes.
Definitely.
So going towards them, you don't have anything to take with you, So pack up those bags, take them.
Right.
Leave them there, empty your bags, and then you can buy all the souvenirs you want to bring with you, And, that is an advice that I give to others. So personally, I enjoy, getting a new wardrobe, once I actually am able to give that to poor people, and I
Right.
see how happy they get,
Yeah.
you know, and same thing goes for your family and your children. But if you're buying, you know, more than you should, so let's say you're an attorney, and attorneys, well, they need more suits than an average person, a
Right.
physician, let's say.
Yeah.
Then that's fine, you know, because that is how you present yourself
Right.
to your clients and to the court and to the public. For example, others, let's say you're a salesman, then you also need to buy more than an average person. So I think every job, every lifestyle comes with its own set of needs. You know, sometimes it's 10 suits and 10 pairs of shoes. Sometimes it's 30 pairs of shoes.
Right.
Um, or 30 pairs of jeans, for example, for whatever you do.
Right.
But anything more than that is called israf. It's considered israf. And if you say, well, this year I only got 5, but you have 50, that's still israf because you're not using it. If you're not using it, or if the usage for it has become less, give it away. Don't be so attached to those things.
Right.
Like I said, those things don't make who you are. You know? And the more generous you are, the more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala returns, you know, and gives you more. In fact, there are hadith that encourage us to give things so that they are replaced with that which is better. Don't wait for it to rip and get destroyed.
Right.
Allah won't replace that. But if something is at its peak and it's nice and it's still working for you, and you take that and you give it to someone,
Right.
then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will replace it with something that is better. Look, and I have seen people do that all the time. I have seen people give away really nice shoes, give away nice jackets, give away, you know,
Watches.
cell phones, watches, and even cars, honestly. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has replaced
Is there
them.
anyone giving away houses?
I
Can I
haven't
find
seen
them?
that or heard that yet, but
I'm looking for a pair of keys. Yeah.
to be honest with you, in fact, now to think of it, I have seen, in fact, we know of somebody who has donated their house to DRF,
Right.
but they're still living in it.
Right.
So after a long life, may Allah bless them with a long life, if they die, that house will go to the orphans and to the hospital and to good causes.
Yeah.
I remember when when I visited Karbala several years ago, there was an elderly woman who donated her house, her estate,
Yeah.
to the orphans, and other people have done that as well.
Yeah.
So giving from what you love the most, this is the most incredible thing anybody can do.
Right.
But you know, shoes are also important. To answer your questions, I think shoes are also important. You know, you can dress nice, but then the shoes are like dead,
Yeah.
or the shoelaces are like ripped.
Right.
Not really.
Not a good look.
Not a good look. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Or like one pair of, I know guys that wear suits and they wear like Skechers with them,
Right.
and then they wear like jeans and wear the same Skechers with them. So don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe just don't wear Skechers. But you know, like sneakers and sneaker culture, there's no problem in buying maybe 1 or 2 pairs of Jordans, some Adidas, whatever, but there's a difference, right? So like you could buy a pair of Jordans for like $200-300, maybe even $500. Some of them are literally like 13 grand, you know? You buy like a small Toyota Yaris with 13 grand. That's crazy. I've seen people that don't have a car and are wearing like a $1,200 pair of shoes. It's crazy. So maybe that's just something to think about for sneakerheads. So I have a question for you, and this is kind of transitioning. I've seen a lot of people that make a good amount of money. You know, they're successful. But when I look at them and the way they dress, it's just tacky. You know, they're not people that I'm like, oh man, this guy looks good, or this person looks good. And I think they have the impression that, okay, I'm going to be humble, so I'm just going to dress bummy. I'm just going to dress down and wear like just the most basic of clothes. Is that really being humble, you know? Is it humble to dress down? Or what is your point of view on that?
No, in fact, like I said, you know, it is encouraged, our imams encouraged us to dress well.
Mm-hmm.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran. There is a hadith that some people went to Imam Hassan and said to him, you know, your father used to dress so with humility.
Right.
He was very humble in the way he dressed. And you, on the other hand, you dress differently, you know.
Right.
And Imam Hassan had some expensive cloaks.
Right.
And Imam Hassan replied, he said, you know, my father was in a position where he was the Khalifa of all the Muslims, and the Muslims at that time were impoverished.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to make people feel that he is one of them.
Right.
And that is why you find that a lot of the maraja, once they become a marja, once they become maraja, they are very humble. And the way they live, the way they dress, the way they carry themselves.
Right.
Because they have people who follow them that are poor.
Right.
But Imam Hassan at that time became a minority. As you know, Muawiyah took away the Khilafah, he usurped the Khilafah, and he became a minority, and his Shia became a minority. And minorities are mistreated. So Imam Hassan wanted to give an impression that no, we're not weak and we're not
Poor.
We're not poor. And with that, he wanted to keep the dignity of the mu'mineen.
Mm-hmm.
So he explained it in such a manner. So it depends, you know, if you are somebody who's, you know, going to a factory every day, right, with factory workers, when you go to the factory, don't be, you know, wearing your, you know,
Louis Vuitton
jacket.
Yeah, just.
But, you know, so I think being smart
Right.
smart about how you dress, what you wear, where,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where you wear it, and all those things will say a lot about somebody. You know, I know very wealthy people who, for example, when they go to the masjid, when they go to public places, they have normal cars, very humble, you know, obviously not a Yaris.
Yeah.
Because then that people would start making fun of them.
Yeah.
But no, they you know, something that is mid class.
Right.
But then they also have very expensive cars that they enjoy by themselves, you know, with their families. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually being smart. That's actually knowing how to manage your affairs. That's actually, you know, keeping in mind ayn and hasad and all those things. So, you know, I think in the end of the day, being humble does not only mean that, you know, I dress down.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to put it. Talking about fashion and how we should carry ourselves, how we should groom ourselves, things of that nature. How did the imams and the Prophet dress, carry themselves? I know Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, obviously he went through a period of his life where not only what he dressed was humble, but his food, his diet, his his transportation. So, but other imams and maybe the Prophet, how did they dress? How did they carry themselves?
You know, like I said, if what you dress makes you act differently, then there's a problem.
Right.
If, you know, yesterday you were dressing very normal, you know, you were just making $60,000-$70,000 a year, and you had to spend all of that on, you know, your family, and you were barely being able to buy just normal clothes, then
right,
you're acting differently. This year something has happened, and you're making $250,000, $300,000, and you get to buy some brands.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're wearing them, and it's making you feel different. It's making you act arrogant. It's making you... Then there's a problem. That never happened with the imams. That never happened with the ma'soomeen. That never happens with scholars. That never happens with the mu'mineen.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the more... the wealthier they get, or even if they're wearing brands... Obviously the imams didn't wear brands, but people that I know, people that are mu'min, people that are... The more humble they become. And that is a true mu'min. It's not somebody who's controlled by those brands. Right. Now, our imams, they were the same, whether they were wearing expensive things or not.
Mhm.
Whether they were, in times of ease or times of difficulty. They were all acting the same. That is the first lesson we need to take. That, whether you wear them or not, don't change the way you behave. Don't change the way you walk. Don't change the way you talk to others. And like I said, arrogance and iman, they don't go hand in hand. They cannot see eye to eye. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that in the Holy Quran. وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. They speak with humility and peaceful manner. Anyhow. So, yes, some of the imams, they had times where they were able to spend, such as Imam Hassan, for example, for a specific period, Imam Hussein for a specific period, and maybe Imam al-Rida for a specific period, Imam al-Sadiq maybe for a specific period. So the imams, some of them, went through those phases where, they had villages or they had businesses or they had people giving them the homes, and they were able to live at ease. And at times, no, things were very difficult, or for whatever reason the Shi'as were going through a phase where the imams were making were getting an income from the people of homes and zakat, but they were spending the whole thing on the Shia completely and none on themselves. And that is the role of the imam. The imams knew how to decide for themselves, and obviously they never did those things in a materialistic sense.
Right.
They had no attachment to the dunya. They had no attachment to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever was done was out of hikmah and wisdom that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had bestowed upon them.